we're not gonna,
This is just for fun.
we're, okay, I'm not prepared for, I'm not
Well,
prepared for anything, man.
welcome to the Goofy Historians prep for the Native Americans past and present. You know what was funny? I was listening to the Great Courses, and they were talking about the Pacific Northwest, and they have those are the cool ones. They had the totem poles, and they had the potash, which was like a big party, a celebration where the chief would invite other tribes, other clans, I guess. And in one, I guess they would sing songs, and there were judges to see who sang the best songs. Did you hear this? So,
I didn't see that one.
so
Which one was this?
this was the West Coast, so the Pacific Northwest. And this was actually post contact. It was actually recorded by a Russian military guy. But anyway, so they were having this party, the Potash, and the chief invited a bunch of the clan, different tribes and stuff, and there was a big one, and they were going to have a singing contest. And so they had judges and everything, and then when observing it, the Russian, all of a sudden, like, everybody just blew out of the lodge, and there was just, all of a sudden, it was just war. And what happened, they found out later, was that one of the groups that were singing, they didn't win, and they got real angry. And
They didn't win.
they didn't win, and they got real angry. And so what happened? So yeah, because it was just too much. It was just too much humiliation, because the year before they had it at their place, and they had lost, and they were clearly the better ones. So they were just, it was enough. They had just had enough. So it was time to start a war over singing. So could you imagine, like, a American Idol just coming
Starting a war.
Yeah, no, like the different families from the person performing, they just start fighting and stuff. A war starts. Yeah, so anyway, the Pacific Northwest were good, but I guess we're not going to do that. We're going to do the Southwest. If we do the Southwest,
Well, we could do whatever we want, right? We could do any I think we should stick with the first one. We should stick with pre-contact, right? I mean, with the Europeans, because I mean, after contact, it does get pretty depressing.
right?
But I think if we could start with, I mean, 'cause I was doing that other lecture series, man, and that just gets depressing, man. It's like, Jesus Christ, you guys, just one massacre after another, man, and it's
Right, of course, but
it's pretty sad. You just don't know how bad it is until you actually start studying it. But when you go like to these people, what were they called? The Mokayans and the
the whole
Mokayons and the Holocons and the Pueblos and the Chacos. I mean, they're actually pretty cool, right? I mean, they're not like killing each other. They don't have any, their art is all about animals. There's no like torture in their art or anything. It seems like they were getting along fine.
yeah,
They had
and after that, I listened to that series, and then after that was the California, and they really got along well. They were the term they used was like sophisticated hunter gatherers, because they had this like trade reciprocity going all the way up and down California. But they still wanted to fight sometimes, and they didn't have anything to fight about, so they would fight about singing.
they're they're what you call it, the stars, singing with the stars or something.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, we could start.
America's Got Talent, Indians Got Talent, or Natives Got Talent. I don't know what the yeah.
Right.
So
So
yeah, I think yeah, we can decide how we want to do it, but I think it's yeah, this time we do pre-contact, and I think mostly, you know, New Mexico, Arizona, California,
right.
the Chaco Canyons, the Pueblos. I mean that's a whole that's huge. I don't know even how far we could get in that. I mean, I never even heard of the Mogollon. I mean, you're like you knew about them. I didn't know about them until you brought them up, basically. So,
All right.
I've
So
heard of the
if we,
Pueblos,
all
the
right.
Aztecs,
Right. So it's pretty easy. So um, the first one will be pre-contact. The the Clovis man and the Folsom man. We can talk about how those were found and how they spread, and then jump to ancestral Pueblo because the Pueblos are still around today. They're in business. You can stop and go see them.
yeah,
So the
still
ancestral
there, speaking their
Pueblo.
own isolate languages, right? Yeah,
So ancestral Pueblo, the Mogollon, and the Hohokam.
absolutely. I like those guys. I
Yeah,
like
so
the Mogollons.
the Mogollons were really, I don't know, they were influenced by the Mesoamerican people with their ball courts, and there was never a ball. That was so funny during
Because they
that
did, yeah,
lecture.
it's like
Did you see that professor? He's like, they only found one rubber ball,
uh,
and then he's like, but they found one stone ball too, but that would be a heck of a game. So he's like, yeah, I'm not buying it. And my it just washed over me. It was like, what? What's going on? Because if you ask any anthropologist, any sociologist, there's countless videos and documentaries about the ball courts and the game that they played. It was started by the Olmecs, it
yeah.
went to the Mayas, it went to the Aztecs, it went to the Incas. It's just common knowledge. And that professor's like, yeah, you know what? I don't think so. Yeah, no, probably not. I was like, what?
Got to come up with the ball.
That is so.
So it's not only in New Mexico. It's all of the Aztecs. There's never been a ball found in all of the
Just
Americas.
one, just one ball.
Just one. Do you think?
It wasn't found in the
Yeah,
Americas. That was my
yeah.
joke because the Mogollon, they never had a ball. They never even had the ball. Like the last people that have it were the Aztecs, and it never got north. So they spent all their time trying to recreate that damn ball. They didn't have time to make a hotter fire and make a tool or make the wheel. They were like, we got to find the ball. It's all about the game. We can't play the game. So anyway, that was I wanted to do
Uh,
an animation on it, but
yeah,
nobody thought
yeah.
that was funny. They're like, oh no, yeah, really, there was ball courts. Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is there's no balls. You know what
I
the
just
college.
I just heard something. I just read something. It was yesterday. I think it was pretty funny. Like, so when Scientology was trying to recruit all these like superstars, right? They tried to recruit Beckham, the soccer star, right?
Right.
Bend it like Beckham. And so if you go to any like Scientology like cult center, right? You're always gonna find a beautiful soccer court, like professional level, that's no one's ever played on. They were just like setting up just in case Beckham ever showed up. They're gonna have a soccer court for him, so it'd be like that, right? They've got their field set up, right? But Beckham never came, so no one ever actually played soccer on all these Scientology soccer courts. So
That's
maybe
that's
like the Mulligans were setting it up, right? And they were going, we don't know exactly what it is, right? But the Aztecs are doing it. We have to keep up with the Aztecs. They never quite figured out what it was. I go, we got the cord, but we don't know what to do with it. First, you need a ball. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
but the
But then
thing
it turns
is,
out nobody had a ball. So the Aztecs had the only ball and they weren't sharing it.
well, I know, but that ball may have come from the Olmecs 1,000 years before.
Yeah,
Anyway,
they only had so they never thought about yeah, so there was only one official ball that you could play with, right? And that ball had to go from court to court, right?
not only from court to court,
Never, no,
from culture,
never,
from culture to culture over the millennium. It was like that ball.
I
You
know,
know what?
yeah, yeah,
The
but there was
ball was the god. That was the real god. It was like that movie with Tom Hanks. Is like with the basketball. He's all Wilson. Okay. All right. Well, I want to tell
that
you.
could be it. The ball was the god, right? And all of these like fields were like places where you worship the god, right? But there was only one god, so he had to like go on tour, right? And so he did. He went on tour like through generations and generations and cultures and things. And people come out later and said, "Oh, they were playing soccer." No, they were playing soccer. It was a deity.
Well, in all fairness, it was probably a multi-use. You know, the Roman Colosseum was used for all kinds of stuff. They could have played soccer there for all we know, be in between the tigers eating people. So anyway, it was probably multi-use, I think. But yeah, I guess we'll never know. But I thought that was funny that certified professor, he was a doctor. He's like, no,
I'm
I'm
not
not
buying
buying
it.
it. I'm not buying it. But anyway, before I forget, I
Just
wanted
blows
to
off, yeah, everybody else.
I wanted to mention back at what you said in the beginning about that it's so depressing. So these two books are a great example of that. So this book is
Yeah.
great. It's an anthropological study of Native Americans in North America. This book, Mrs. Ortiz, way too personal for her story. It's just like you can feel the bitterness as she writes. You can feel the pain and the passion and her almost hate as it comes across the pages in this book. And it's sad because she's got a lot of great information specifics, but she's too close to the subject as a Native American to write a
It's
science.
being being a Native American, right? So yeah, I think yeah, it's yeah, I get yeah, she's not academic, right? The other guy's academic, right? He can I mean that's why I think it's easier for us to look at these pre-contact people because we can look at it academically. I mean, if it's pre-contact Pueblo or the Sumerians, right? It's like yeah, no sweat or talking about even the Mongolians, right? It's
It's
like, but yeah, once you
Mogi.
once you
Okay,
get to like,
stop. Say it
once you
with me.
huh?
Mugion. Mug,
Muggions,
muggy,
Muggions.
Muggions. You can't call them Mongolians.
No, I mean what I'm saying. I mean even Mongolians, right? They're far enough in distance that we don't get
Oh,
passionate about it, right?
oh,
But
right.
we have no right. But once you get to the European, even I get emotional about that too because it's so. I mean, it's like we're just like a few generations, from our ancestors doing these horrendous things.
Well, you know what
It's
the good
it's
thing about it was? There was nothing good about it. But
there's nothing good about it.
okay, so do you remember the Wild West show, Bill Cody? So he went around the world in the late 1800s. And at one point, he even had Sitting Bull with him. And
Yeah,
he promoted the Wild West. And for his time, he was actually a progressive. He, he was all about women's rights with Annie Oakley and the shooting. And he was like, these are the Native Americans and this, that, and showed them around. And the Wild West show went to Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee in the late 1800s. So if you can imagine, we should do one on Jubilees. Actually, it's called Jubilees. So,
yeah.
so the Wild West show was at the Jubilee. Um, of Queen Victoria. She was probably like doing her opium, going, "Ah, that's great."
Probably she was doing her opium,
But you know,
smoking, give me that peace pipe, man.
well,
He was smoking
if
her.
you think about
Put
it,
some put some crack in that. Put some crack in that peace pipe, man. I know your your THC isn't doing it for me.
well, the
It's not
Golden Jubilee.
helping.
So Queen Victoria, we talked about her when about the opium wars, but and we gave her a hard time about how evil she was and stuff. But at the Golden Jubilee in the late 1800s with Queen Victoria was the height of the British Empire. They had 400 million people, and so yeah, she was doing her opium and ruling the world. That one was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. How could you? Yeah, how could you sit on top of an empire that big without being stoned, man? It's it just that's
All right.
probably what King Charles the or what Emperor the Fifth, Emperor Charles the Fifth needed was some opium. He would have done better instead of always being depressed,
Right.
taking over Rome just because he's pissed off.
So
Uh,
tomorrow's Sunday, and I'm thinking of doing this. But I got to tell you this story first, if you have time. If you have time for a story.
yeah.
So it involves a coyote. It involves a wolf and a rattlesnake. So this was probably 10 years ago, and at that time I had charcoal, and we were walking out in the desert, and on this what they called the flats out near Monticello Positas area, and we were walking along, and we looked to our left, and there's a gray wolf not that far away, probably 50 yards, and it was clearly a wolf.
Wow.
I grew up in New Mexico. I know what a coyote looks like, and it wasn't a coyote, it was a wolf. And I had charcoal with me, and we just kept walking, and the wolf was like shadowing us from the left. And Charcoal was kind of freaking out. He was staying close to me. He wasn't on a leash, like he never was on a leash in New Mexico. Um, I started getting nervous. I was like, this wolf could come down and snag Charcoal and just be gone. So I at that it was kind of
Yeah, they could.
it was kind of a redneck period of my life. And I had a gun. I had like a big gun, like a 45. And I wasn't gonna kill any wolf, but I wanted to make the wolf go away, right? And so I just fired randomly into the air, and it was a 45 handgun is loud, and me and Charcoal were both deaf, and when the smoke cleared, there was no more wolf. We didn't kill the wolf just ran away. Let's be clear about that. So we kept, but I felt better because I didn't want to get Charcoal attacked by a wolf. So anyway,
And you didn't want to fight the wolf, protecting Charcoal. If it was between you and Charcoal, it would have been, and you don't want to kill the wolf, so that's cool. Yeah, okay, go on.
so anyway, the wolf was gone. We never saw the wolf again. And about 20 feet further, just right away, we went down. We were going down into a canyon. There's all kinds of little arroyos and canyons and stuff there. Interestingly enough, this canyon has like halfway down, it has like a flat place. And on that flat place was this dark circle. You could see it right away. It's like, well, this is like somebody put a bunch of black rocks right there. So we go down there. It's not a hard walk at all. We walk down there and we're looking around, and it's like, wow, this is weird, and I didn't think much of it. And then like a week later, I told our sister Cindy about it, and she said, "Oh yeah, those are Mogollon ruins. They were already out here. The When they built the dam, they had to have archaeologists come, and they also had Native Americans come and bless it, and everything was okay. And they built the dam. And there's a bunch of sites. Don't worry about it." And I said, "Well, let's go look at it." She's all right, and we go there again. It was like a couple of weeks later, and we go down there, and first of all, just as a disclosure here, we're not looters. We never took anything from the site. We're not pot hunting. We didn't disturb any. We didn't like dig or anything like that. But we did look around and find shit. And then that was our first exposure, and Cindy was just like finding all kinds of stuff, just tools and just this, that, and the other, and she had a little pile of them, and there they were, because we didn't take anything with us, and then we were climbing back up the hill. It was actually already dusk, and we were like, let's get back, going up the hill, and then bam, I felt something hit my leg, and I turned around, and it was a rattlesnake was like right there at the top of the hill. You couldn't like not go past it. It was like that was where the trail was. So it was like there was a wolf guarding it to begin with, and then after we found it, there was a snake gonna get us on the way out. So anyway, that was my little story. It was just random coincidences. It's a well-known place. Later on we found dozens of them. There's probably hundreds. It turns out that and it's kind of a weird, is it a sacred site or something? I don't know, because there's a cattle trail going right across it. The rancher who owns it has cattle. So it's disturbed. So it's not like sacred ground. And what it really comes down to is budget and money. You can't just, there's thousands of sites all over. You can't just like have a team of PhD archaeologists full-time studying every site. That would cost trillions of dollars. But anyway, that was my site. That was my story. And I thought I'd just go back and maybe do a little video about it this time for this. But
Yeah,
what's interesting,
yeah.
if it is the site, if it is a Mogollon site, which I haven't backed up to look at the university museum, which supposedly there's artifacts there, but if it is, depending on the time frame, because the Mogollons were in that area forever, early on in the pit houses, they would bury the person whose pit house it was in the ground, like halfway, and then they put like a bowl on top of their head, and they would bury it. So there's like a dead person in every one of those little black areas. I don't know, probably not, but it's kind of freaky to think about it. So anyway, that was
Yeah. Then they have the little bowl on their head, and then like what's I thought was unique was that you get these bowls off their head, and inside the bowls there's this really unique art that is only for the Mogollons. It never spread. These little bowls at the top of the that never spread outside their culture, right? So that art was totally self-contained. They didn't trade that. They didn't trade those bowls. That wasn't part of the trade network. That wasn't part of a cultural, uh, expansion. It was just within their thing. They created these bowls and they painted them, and they put it on the dead people's head, and that was it. And it was like totally unique art. They had like birds and fish, and goats, all these different animals and people. It was like amazing art. And it was like they invented this art and it just disappeared with them because it never, you know, got beyond their grave goods. I thought it was amazing.
yeah,
It was
they
all
were
they invented it, they developed it, and it died with them.
literally.
um, literally, right? And they put it on their head. That was the only place they had this art. Was these little? Wasn't like it looks like a bowl, but it's actually a cap,
Right.
right? And you don't wear the cap. You only put it on your head when you're dead, right? So I mean, how unique is that, right? And if you look at this art, it's really good. It's not like just, everybody, all the other Indians or natives were doing all this geometrical art, like little triangles and, jagged, symmetrical. This was art, like people and
Yeah,
animals.
it was almost like kind of like modern art where they used like negative space and stuff. It was like pretty
Yeah, 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 yeah.
sophisticated.
They had negative space type art, and it was amazing.